Winter in Calgary. Cold, snowy asphalt ducked across with hands in pockets and a toque. A table in a Vietnamese restaurant in Southland that I'm sure you've all been to. A Calgary neighborhood whose name could be anywhere in any city of North America, but a bitter, dry Calgary cold with a north wind blowing. They didn't have a fish tank. My friends and I are talking about our shared experiences and telling stories. I order beef vermicelli with spring rolls. We are in cattle country after all, and green tea to drink. Four of us, many of whom were three of whom are in this room today, 3 men and a woman, sit around a table reminiscing about our experiences in uniform. We have authoritative voices and are overheard. These are war stories, the personal kind, the kind we experienced firsthand. I tell one. It's about an intersection in Kandahar City. I was on my way from Spurwingar to Kandahar Airfield to depart on leave, and we were rolling through the big city in our lavs. My head protruded from the air sentry hatch. It was a fun enough time until someone started rolling through a stop sign and getting into our bubble, which is the personal protective space around our lav. How close is he? Too fucking close? Close enough to shoot? I don't know. What does 10 meters look like? Waterega, I said, which means stop. And then I thought, I got me a gun, don't I? He stopped, and I put my safety back on, and that was the end. Maybe I would have fired if he'd kept driving. I probably would have. Kept squeezing, that is. I was begging what I thought was an important question to my friends and fellow veterans. Where's the line? How close does that white Toyota Corolla gotta come? When does the trigger squeeze end someone's life, and is that wrong? I mean, the amount of intelligence that we got about suicide bombers and white Toyota Corollas scrolling across our in-theater chat screen was in the megabytes, and by that I mean a lot. A steady rhythm of warnings about Corollas coming in from all over the place, for real. That's a true story. Occasionally, they had license plate numbers associated with them, but it would have taken Ben Affleck and The Accountant to remember all of them. I don't know if you saw that movie or not. But here I am, introducing exculpatory evidence. Did that guy sense that I was about to fire, that my finger was on the trigger? Did he look at me and see me leaning in, that my finger was tightening? Did he hear my shout to stop? I couldn't see his face too well. I was aiming center mass, though. That's the idea anyway, but I can't remember his face. Stories told, I stand up and pay, and some lady comes over and is angry, and I mean angry, in italics in the book nonetheless, indignant even. Her son is with her. How dare you? He had heard everything. Sorry, I say, bowing my head, reddening at the ears, feeling like a bitch. We aren't long in saying our au revoirs to the place. Later, I think of the questions I maybe should have asked. Does your son play video games or watch movies? Probably not Game of Thrones, I would hasten to guess. How about the news or books or South Park, perhaps? All of these portray the question that I had raised in a far more obscene way than I had. I mean, my story hadn't had any torture in it, not even any killing at the end of the day. What about when it happened thousands of times in the war of the past, not almost once maybe as it happened in my experience? That woman's anger over the veracity of my story was ultimately the genesis of my PhD dissertation research question, an experience so jarring that it showed me what I wanted to know. I wanted to know where the line was, and I wanted to know how men and women, although in my PhD I just wrote about men, with experience in crossing that line, told their stories to a world that did not want to hear them, even though the killing was emphatically and unfortunately the whole point of the endeavor. It's everywhere, the killing, in fiction I mean, right? Think about it, it's everywhere. I'm not making it up. In real life, if you look hard enough, it's there too, but most of us don't. That's the one place we do not like to see violence, and who can blame us? But in much of the imaginings and literatures and narratives, killing another human being features prominently, like in Fury, where Brad Pitt forcibly pops his new gunner's cherry, holding his hands around a pistol and making sure he can and will kill, so that you know that the man will perform when battle comes. Fiction, of course, but how much fiction? Or was it? So few of us are ever in that situation where we have to answer that question. Where is the line? My real-life understanding of the question, but not the answer, is unambiguous, and had been for a little while, about 5 years and 1 master's degree by the time of that Vietnamese meal in Southland. Had we been discussing literature or history, it would not have been an offensive subject. If I had limited myself to a discussion of Tolstoy or Arendt's understanding of power and violence in war, I'm sure she would not have approached us. But that we were talking about these things from experience made all the difference. The question suddenly and flickeringly became real to her, maybe for the first time, and it was different for me before it was real. Maybe it was more real then before the tour. I can't really be sure. That's one of the things that I've noticed has changed, my trust in the realness of reality, which is kind of a sad way to end it, but there you go.